Welcome back to Worldview. We're speaking with Katherine Waddell, former Virginia delegate to the House of Representatives, on Worldview with Dennis Campbell. We had a huge turnout in 2012 for the national election, but now here we are in 2013, where yours and I believe New Jersey are the only two gubernatorial statewide races. How will turnout affect, or does it affect?
It will affect it huge. It will be. There's no doubt about that. And that's how Bob McDonnell was elected. He also pretended to be a moderate. And there's no way that Ken Cuccinelli is going to get away with pretending to be a moderate. So I do believe we will have a better turnout this year. And I think even people like E.W. Jackson has certainly motivated people to turn out in droves, I hope, to vote against him. We also have Ralph Northam, a wonderful doctor and state senator, running for lieutenant governor. And we have a state senator running for attorney general, Mark Herron, against Mark Obenchain. Mark Obenchain was even the one who was on the Board of Visitors at James Madison University, who made them stop dispensing emergency contraception at the hospital there, not the hospital, at the local clinic on the campus. And, you know, it's just amazing. He thinks that emergency contraception causes abortion, which it absolutely does not. It prevents an unplanned pregnancy, which could lead to abortion. Why don't these people want to limit abortions by giving birth control pills, emergency contraception,
sex education?
Sex education. I mean, why do they want abstinence only? We know it does not work.
I mean, here in Europe, it's often looked at with disdain, and quite frankly, people don't understand why, when you have teenagers with hormones that, you know, pretty much all of us have had for centuries, you don't give people the proper tools and the proper education to prevent an unwanted pregnancy. And, you know, when we look at the Netherlands, where I lived for a number of years, and other countries, it becomes so ridiculous to try and understand this rabid almost avoidance of anything that would give responsibility.
Well, it absolutely. And, you know, the thing that amazes me, you touched on my party at one time. The basic principles of the Republican Party include limited government, individual freedom, and the right to privacy. That's the party that I grew up in, and that's the party that I worked for. But they have moved further and further to the right. They're no longer a big tent party, and they're very judgmental about women. And, you know, you just cannot continue winning like that. Did you see what they did to the man who is lieutenant governor now, Bill Bolin?
No.
He's the lieutenant governor of Virginia. He wanted to run for governor. Well, when Bob McDonnell ran for governor, Lieutenant Governor Bill Bolin agreed not to challenge him, to let him go ahead and take his turn in the party. And then Governor McDonnell would help him next time. But that's not what happened. Ken Cuccinelli would not wait. He's challenged Bill Bolin for the nomination. So they were going to have a primary. Well, what happened is Ken Cuccinelli and the right wing in the party got together and changed the process to make it a convention. Bill Bolin knew he couldn't win in a convention. Only 8,000 people go to a convention. So he backed away from it. He said, I'm not going to run.
And those 8,000 that go to the convention tend to be very highly motivated and very highly on the right-wing side, so it explains the ticket that you actually ended up with. Let me ask you one last question here about, you know, what used to be your party, because, I mean, I grew up in Massachusetts, the home of Edward Brooke, you know, who, even though he was a Republican, was somebody for whom I had a tremendous amount of respect for. He was a moderate, and he was one of the architects of the middle. And even though he and Senator Kennedy were from opposite parties, they found ways to come together to get things done. And at the end of the day, neither one liked the solution, but they knew it was the right thing to do. What has happened to the party that you grew up in and still in some respects identify with, that it has gone so far to the right?
Well, actually, what was happening, and most Republicans that I know were not aware of this. And everyone praises Ronald Reagan. But when Ronald Reagan came in, he brought the right wing with him. And he brought the anti-choice group with him, and they just grew and grew, and they have taken over the party. I know when I first started working actively for Republicans, because I actually did not know what I wanted to do when my daughters were growing up. I had been a stay-at-home mom, and I had always volunteered in Republican politics. So I went down to the Senate, and I volunteered. I worked down there for one of the Republican senators, which there weren't very many at that time. And eventually, I was working on campaigns and actually getting paid to do something that I love to do. But I began to notice things like bills like parental notification that were coming in. I found that I was on the opposite side of my boss every time on issues relating to women's reproductive rights. And I began to realize that what they were doing is they were just chipping away bit by bit. Sure, everybody thinks parental notification, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with bringing parents and a child together in a situation like that? But what you can't do is be judgmental and decide for everyone. There are people that doesn't work for them. They're going to kick the daughter out of the house or harm her. So you cannot make one set of laws that applies to everybody. Just as Wendy Davis said, the choice that she made was the right one for her, but she would never want to make that choice for another woman. She does not know what their circumstances are, and that's the same thing here. So I began to realize I couldn't function in a party that was so restrictive of women's reproductive rights and so judgmental. And also, when they carry the pregnancy to term and they have a baby, they don't want to do anything to help them. These are women that can't afford to have this baby. So the baby comes, well, they don't want to give them any support or help in education or health care or anything. So what happens? They stay poor. And this is what we don't want happening in this country.
Well, it is truly an amazing topic, and I want to thank you for taking some time here to join us on this program. A fascinating discussion, and I'm sure, and I hope we'll have an opportunity to have it again as the campaign continues into the future.
I would love to. Thank you so much, Dennis. I appreciate you having me on your show.
Well, we've been speaking today with Katherine Waddell. She is a former Virginia delegate in the Commonwealth of Virginia. She's now president of something called the Women's Strike Force. This is a group in Virginia fighting very hard to erase all these crazy efforts that are trying to stop 60 years of women's reproductive freedom. She joined us here on Worldview with Dennis Campbell from her home in Virginia. You're watching Worldview with Dennis Campbell. Stay right here.